I really tried my best, please watch the video until the end.
The heavy dust settles over the ruined stone battlefield. I observe the massive armored giant approach the center. A small black and white panda sits quietly on the ground. Calm energy radiates outward from the tiny furry creature. System alert SSS-Rank. Zen Balance skill is now active. The giant grips a colossal steel hammer with both hands. Thick muscles bulge under his heavy dark iron armor plates. I calculate the sheer kinetic force of that heavy weapon. This strike will easily shatter the entire stone plateau. The beast swings the massive hammer down with brutal speed. Air pressure shifts violently around the falling weapon. A loud sonic boom echoes across the empty, barren wasteland. I watch the deadly shadow cover the small sitting animal. The giant weapon crashes directly onto the soft, fluffy head. A massive shockwave ripples through the hard, rocky earth. Thick clouds of debris obscure my vision for a brief moment. I expect to see a completely flattened crater in the dirt. The thick gray dust slowly clears away from the impact zone. I stare at the impossible scene unfolding right before me. The tiny panda remains seated in the exact same position. Not a single hair on its round head is bent or damaged. System alert. The impact nullification protocol is active. The giant pushes down hard on the heavy steel hammer handle. His thick arms tremble from the intense physical exertion. The tiny creature simply absorbs the entire kinetic payload. Pure physical force flows directly into the small round body. I notice the dark fur becoming slightly darker and denser. The white fur glows with a strange, bright internal light. Black and white energy particles begin floating in the air. They form a perfect yin-yang symbol around the calm beast. The giant roars loudly and lifts the hammer for another hit. He brings the heavy steel weapon down a second time now. The metal head strikes the animal with even greater power. Another powerful shockwave tears the ground apart instantly. The panda does not move a single millimeter from its spot. It merely breathes in slowly as the kinetic energy enters. System alert. Kinetic absorption capacity is increasing fast. I analyze the strange physics governing this unique ability. The creature does not resist the incoming external force. It simply accepts the violent impact and stores the power. The giant strikes a third time with absolute maximum effort. His heavy armor cracks from the strain of his own movement. The hammer connects with a deafening metallic ringing sound. The force of the blow creates a deep crater around them both. The panda sits peacefully on a small pillar of intact stone. I feel the ambient temperature drop significantly right now. The stored kinetic energy compresses inside the small animal. Its physical density reaches an entirely impossible level. The giant drops his heavy hammer onto the broken ground. He stares at the untouched creature with obvious confusion. Heavy sweat pours down his ugly green face in thick drops. I know exactly what will happen in the next few seconds. The panda finally opens its dark round eyes very slowly. A bright flash of pure white energy escapes from its pupils. The small beast casually lifts one tiny fluffy front paw. It extends the paw toward the massive armored green giant. The movement is incredibly slow and completely unthreatening. The giant tries to step back away from the strange animal. His heavy boots slip on the loose, broken stone fragments. The soft paw makes direct contact with the thick iron armor. There is no loud sound or bright explosion upon the touch. System alert. Stored kinetic energy release protocol initiated. All the absorbed force transfers back into the huge target. The giant freezes completely still for a fraction of a second. A visible ripple of pure force travels through his huge body. The heavy iron armor plates shatter into a million tiny pieces. The kinetic energy violently ejects the beast from the ground. He launches backward into the sky at a terrifying velocity. The sheer speed of his departure creates a new sonic boom. A deep trench forms in the earth along his flight trajectory. I watch his massive body disappear over the far horizon line. He will likely land on the completely opposite side of the world. The panda slowly lowers its small paw back down to the earth. The black and white yin-yang particles fade into the thin air. System alert target successfully eliminated through redirection. I analyze the tactical value of this supreme defensive skill. True power does not always require aggressive forward motion. This creature embodies the absolute pinnacle of efficiency. It turns the raw strength of the enemy into a fatal weakness. I step forward over the scattered remains of the giant weapon. The air still smells strongly of burnt ozone and crushed rock. The small panda looks at me with a totally blank expression. I feel absolutely no hostile intent coming from its round body. It merely exists in a state of perfect and eternal equilibrium. Any attack against it is simply an attack against oneself. System alert. Hostile presence in the immediate area is 0. The battlefield remains perfectly silent after the sudden launch. I calculate the exact distance the giant will eventually travel. He will undoubtedly cross the entire wide continent by nightfall. The kinetic transfer was efficient without any wasted energy. I record this incredible phenomenon in my personal combat logs. The SSS-Rank Zen Balance skill defies all known laws of physics. It absorbs momentum and stores it within a biological framework. The dense physical body acts as a perfect kinetic battery core. The ground beneath the panda is now perfectly smooth, solid stone. The intense pressure flattened the rough rocks into polished glass. The tiny creature yawns widely and reveals small, white, dull teeth. It slowly rolls over onto its back and exposes a soft, white belly. I understand the true nature of this terrifying absolute defense. There is no need to dodge or block when you can simply absorb it. The massive hammer lies shattered in the dirt near my heavy boots. I examine the broken steel fragments scattered across the ground. The metal is completely warped from the intense energy transfer. This level of physical distortion requires massive kinetic force. The giant poured his entire soul into that final heavy strike. His reward was a one-way ticket across the entire vast continent. I look back at the fluffy creature resting on the smooth stone. It is currently chewing lazily on a small piece of green bamboo. I have absolutely no idea where it found that fresh green plant. System alert unknown. Biological matter detected in the target area. The panda ignores my intense analytical gaze and continues eating. The crunching sound of the bamboo echoes in the quiet, silent air. I must constantly remind myself of the extreme danger present here. A single wrong move could result in my own immediate destruction. If I trigger the defense mechanism, I will surely die instantly. The kinetic reflection would launch my body into the stratosphere. I slowly lower my hands and adopt a completely harmless posture. The creature stops chewing and slowly blinks its dark, round eyes. It seems to acknowledge my peaceful intentions with a slight nod. System alert threat level assessment shows a totally neutral status. I turn my back on the animal and begin walking toward the horizon. There is nothing more for me to learn from this current encounter. The power of Zen Balance is now fully documented in my own mind. I must devise new strategies before facing such a rare opponent. The wind picks up again and blows dust across the deep crater. I hear the faint sound of another bamboo stalk snapping in half. The world is full of completely illogical and terrifying anomalies. This black and white beast is definitely at the top of that list. I must continue my journey and grow stronger for the next battle. System alert. New objective acquired and pathing route calculated. The sun slowly begins to set behind the distant mountain peaks. Long, dark shadows stretch across the completely ruined battlefield. I take one final look over my shoulder at the resting creature. It is already fast asleep on the smooth glass-like stone surface. A faint aura of yin-yang particles dances around its small body. The sheer contrast between its appearance and power is staggering. I adjust my heavy gear and step forward into the cold, dark night. Tomorrow will undoubtedly bring even more dangerous challenges. I am fully prepared to face whatever this world throws at me now. System alert final combat log successfully uploaded to the server. The cold night air bites into my heavy tactical armor. I walk away from the glass crater with steady steps. My mind processes the impossible physics of that beast. System alert. Tactical analysis subroutines are running. The dark wasteland stretches out before my tired eyes. Heavy boots crush small, loose stones under my total weight. I calculate the exact energy output of that previous strike. Millions of joules were redirected without any heat loss. Such perfect thermal efficiency violates basic thermodynamics. A sudden low rumble vibrates through the hard, rocky ground. I stop moving and instantly lower my center of gravity. My optical sensors scan the dark horizon for any movement. System alert. Multiple hostile energy signatures detected. 3 sleek metallic drones descend from the cloudy night sky. Their silent engines emit a faint blue radioactive glow. I recognize these hunter units from the previous sector. They track massive energy spikes across the dead continent. The giant flying across the sky surely triggered their sensors. I slowly draw my heavy tungsten blade from its back sheath. The cold metal feels reassuring inside my armored right hand. The lead drone projects a bright red targeting laser at me. I shift my weight slightly to the left side of the path. A high-velocity plasma bolt scorches the earth right beside me. Extreme heat instantly melts the broken stones into liquid slag. I do not waste any time with useless defensive maneuvers. My powerful leg muscles propel me forward with explosive force. The heavy blade slices cleanly through the thick drone armor. Sparks fly wildly as the internal power core violently ruptures. System alert. First hostile unit successfully neutralized. The destroyed machine crashes heavily onto the cold, hard dirt. 2 remaining drones immediately adjust their attack patterns. They elevate higher into the air to avoid my melee range. I calculate their new trajectory with absolute cold precision. My left hand grabs a small explosive charge from my belt. I throw the device upward with maximum physical velocity. The small metal sphere detonates right between the 2 targets. A powerful electromagnetic pulse disables their flight engines. Both machines plummet downward like heavy, useless lead weights. They smash into the rocky terrain and shatter into many pieces. System alert area secure and threat level returned to 0. I slowly sheathe my heavy blade back into the metal scabbard. The brief combat encounter barely elevated my core heart rate. I look back toward the distant location of the sleeping panda. A strange pillar of bright purple light suddenly pierces the sky. The intense illumination casts long, eerie shadows across the land. System alert. Massive spatial distortion detected in Sector 4. That is the exact spot where I left the small furry creature. My tactical curiosity overrides my basic survival instinct. I activate my optical zoom lens to observe from a safe distance. The purple light fades and reveals a tall, slender humanoid figure. The new entity wears flowing robes made of pure dark energy. It floats silently above the smooth glass crater surface. The sleeping panda remains completely undisturbed by the noise. Its small chest rises and falls with a steady rhythmic motion. I analyze the energy signature of this new unknown hostile entity. System alert target identified as a high-tier dimensional mage. This type of enemy relies entirely on absolute magical destruction. They do not use blunt kinetic force like the green armored giant. I wonder how the Zen Balance skill will handle pure raw magic. The mage raises both hands and begins chanting an ancient spell. The surrounding air temperature drops to dangerous freezing levels. Thick ice crystals form rapidly on the smooth glass ground. A massive sphere of pure destructive void energy materializes. The dark sphere crackles with lethal high-voltage electricity. I measure the raw destructive output of the gathering spell. It contains enough volatile power to vaporize a whole small city. The mage thrusts his slender arms forward with supreme arrogance. The void sphere shoots directly toward the tiny sleeping beast. The deadly magical projectile travels at an incredible velocity. It strikes the small furry body with a completely silent flash. I brace myself for a massive catastrophic magical explosion. The bright flash fades away into the dark, cold night atmosphere. The tiny panda is still sleeping peacefully on the hard ground. The huge void sphere simply vanished upon direct physical contact. System alert energy nullification protocol successfully executed. I observed the black and white fur glowing with a dark purple hue. It absorbed the raw magical energy, just like basic physical force. The mage stares at the impossible outcome with obvious deep shock. He trembles slightly from the sudden and complete tactical failure. The tiny panda slowly opens its dark eyes and stretches its legs. It lets out another wide yawn, revealing a small pink wet tongue. The stored void energy condenses into a tiny glowing round marble. The small sphere hovers right above the right fluffy front paw. The panda gently taps the dark marble with its other soft paw. The small dark sphere shoots forward with absolute blinding speed. It strikes the floating mage directly in the center of his chest. The impact does not create any loud noise or massive shockwave. A silent ripple of pure void energy tears through the local space. The tall entity is instantly erased from basic physical existence. Not a single trace of dark robes or magical aura remains behind. System alert. Hostile magical target completely erased from reality. I lower my zoom lens and process the terrifying new combat data. The Zen Balance skill is not limited to simple physical kinetics. It converts any incoming hostile force into a fatal counterattack. The small beast settles back down onto the smooth glass surface. It closes its dark eyes and immediately returns to a deep sleep. I realize the absolute futility of fighting such a perfect being. Only a complete fool would attempt to challenge that quiet animal. I turn around and resume my journey across the cold, dark wasteland. The cold wind howls through the deep canyons and broken rocks. My tactical interface updates the global threat map with new data. The Panda is now designated as an absolute supreme hazard zone. I must alter my travel paths to completely bypass this dead sector. The heavy tungsten blade slaps against my armored thigh as I walk. I review the recorded footage of the dark void energy absorption. The creature did not even use its yin-yang particles this time. It relied entirely on its dense physical form to absorb the magic. System alert scan reveals 0 cellular damage on the small animal. Such invulnerability breaks every single rule of standard combat. I check my own energy reserves and find them currently optimal. The combat armor feels exceptionally rigid against my tired skin. I must perform basic maintenance on the internal cooling systems. Fine gray dust from the battlefield clogged several intake vents. I use a compressed air canister to clear the dirty metal filters. A quiet hiss breaks the absolute silence of the cold, dark night. System alert environmental hazard protection restored to maximum. I secure the empty metal canister back onto my heavy utility belt. The constant threat of random ambushes requires total preparation. Every piece of equipment must function without any tiny fatal flaw. I calibrate the optical sensors to maximum low-light visual mode. The dark landscape brightens into a sharp green digital grid map. I can now see the microscopic details of the broken rocky terrain. Small insects crawl blindly over the shattered ancient dry bones. This continent is merely a massive, forgotten, and silent graveyard. System Alert historical database indicates millions perished here. They fought endless, brutal wars over scarce magical power sources. Now only mutated beasts and supreme anomalies walk the dead ruins. The night sky is completely devoid of any bright, shining stars. Dark clouds block the pale moonlight from touching the cold ground. My internal chronometer indicates it is exactly 3 in the night. I must locate a secure position to rest and recharge my power core. A large, ruined stone temple appears on the far distant visual edge. I adjust my heavy backpack and increase my standard walking pace. The memory of the flying green giant replays endlessly in my mind. He was a supreme warlord capable of crushing entire human armies. His immense physical strength meant absolutely nothing in the end. System Alert combat efficiency rating has been updated and stored. I reach the crumbling stone steps of the ancient ruined structure. Thick green vines tightly wrap around the broken marble pillars. I scan the dark interior for hidden traps or dangerous life forms. My thermal sensors detect only small, harmless rodents in the walls. I step inside the empty hall and clear a space on the stone floor. The ambient temperature drops again as the cold night wind blows. I sit down heavily and run my standard internal diagnostic checks. System Alert. All primary biological systems are fully functional. I close my eyes and process the massive amount of new combat data. True strength is not measured by the size of the weapon you carry. It is measured by your absolute ability to control external forces. That tiny black and white bear mastered the ultimate cosmic truth. I will apply this profound lesson to my future combat algorithms. System Alert. Entering low-power sleep mode for the next 4 hours. My internal system clock triggers the wake protocol. The cold stone floor drains heat from my heavy armor. I slowly open my eyes to scan the dark, ruined room. System Alert. Low-power sleep mode successfully ended. Thick gray dust falls from the high stone ceiling. A heavy vibration travels through the solid ground. I calculate the exact magnitude of this deep tremor. It registers as a massive localized seismic anomaly. System alert. Multiple heavy transport units are detected. I quickly gather my gear and exit the ancient temple. The dark night sky is now illuminated by yellow light. A colossal floating steel fortress blocks the pale moon. Massive plasma engines keep the huge structure airborne. I recognize the heavy armor plating of the Apex faction. They hunt absolute supreme anomalies for dark research. System alert, high threat level, hostile forces inbound. The flying citadel moves directly toward the glass crater. They are tracking the residual void magic energy signature. I activate my stealth camouflage to avoid any detection. My optical sensors zoom in on the distant target zone. The tiny black and white beast is still fast asleep. It rests peacefully on the perfectly smooth glass stone. The giant flying fortress hovers right above the animal. 4 heavy metal doors open on the dark bottom hull. System alert, deployment of heavy gravity suppression anchors. Thick titanium cables drop down from the open cargo bays. Massive steel spikes slam deep into the hard, rocky earth. They form a perfect square around the sleeping creature. A deep humming sound vibrates through the cold night air. The anchors generate an intense localized gravity field. I measure the extreme atmospheric pressure dropping fast. The loose stones around the target are instantly crushed. System alert, gravitational force exceeds all standard limits. The invisible weight presses down on the small round body. The artificial gravity multiplies by a factor of 10 now. Solid glass ground cracks under the immense unseen force. I expect the tiny animal to be flattened into pure paste. The panda simply continues to breathe at a steady, slow pace. Its dark fur absorbs the crushing gravitational pressure. The physical density of the beast increases exponentially. System alert. Kinetic absorption capacity is rising rapidly. The floating fortress detects the complete lack of damage. The heavy engines roar louder to supply more raw power. The gravity field intensifies to an absolute planetary scale. The surrounding terrain sinks 10 meters into the dark earth. A perfect square crater forms around the sleeping calm animal. The tiny beast finally opens its dark round eyes very slowly. It looks up at the massive steel structure in the dark sky. The panda does not show any signs of fear or sudden panic. It merely stretches its short, fluffy legs and yawns widely. System alert, target entity is now fully awake and active. The absorbed gravitational energy must go somewhere eventually. I adjust my visual filters to block the incoming bright light. The white fur of the animal glows with intense, blinding power. Black and white particles materialize in the heavy, thick air. They swirl rapidly around the small, dense biological body. The creature casually lifts one tiny, soft front paw upward. It taps the empty air directly above its small, round head. System alert. Massive kinetic energy release is now imminent. The stored planetary gravity condenses into a single point. A tiny sphere of absolute black nothingness suddenly forms. It is a localized singularity born from pure redirected force. The panda gently pushes the dark sphere toward the huge ship. The tiny black dot floats upward at a deceptively slow speed. The fortress commanders realize their fatal tactical mistake. Emergency thrusters ignite to evade the incoming dark anomaly. It is completely impossible to escape a localized black hole. System alert. Extreme spatial distortion detected in the sky. The dark sphere touches the heavy bottom armor of the citadel. There is no loud explosion or bright flash of thermal energy. The massive steel structure simply begins to fold inward fast. Millions of tons of heavy metal compress into a tiny, small space. The powerful plasma engines are crushed into absolute silence. I watch the entire flying fortress shrink to the size of a ball. The intense gravitational pull consumes the whole huge machine. System alert. Hostile target successfully reduced to zero mass. The tiny black sphere evaporates into the cold, dark night air. A single cube of ultra-dense compressed steel falls to the earth. It lands right next to the panda with a heavy, dull thudding sound. The creature sniffs the small metal block with mild curiosity. It totally ignores the absolute destruction it just caused here. I process the terrifying reality of this ultimate defensive skill. The beast turned a capture device into a weapon of mass erasure. System alert, threat assessment algorithm requires a total reboot. The Apex faction just lost their most expensive military asset. They will undoubtedly send more forces to investigate this loss. I must vacate this immediate area before the next wave arrives. I slowly step backward into the deep shadows of the ruined temple. My heavy combat boots make absolutely no sound on the stone floor. The panda suddenly turns its round head and looks directly at me. A cold shiver runs down my spine despite my heavy thermal armor. I freeze completely still and halt all my biological functions. System alert, heart rate suppressed to avoid any hostile detection. The animal stares at my hidden position for 10 long, cold seconds. It blinks twice and turns its attention back to the metal block. It sits down and rests its furry head on the dense steel cube. The creature treats the remains of a fortress as a simple pillow. I slowly exhale the trapped stale air from my burning tight lungs. System alert. Stealth camouflage integrity remains at maximum level. I turn around and begin a rapid tactical retreat from this sector. The dark rocky canyon provides excellent cover for my rapid escape. System alert. Approaching the designated safe extraction zone now. A red laser beam sweeps across the dark canyon floor ahead. I press my armored back against the cold, hard stone wall. A lone mechanical scout patrols the narrow exit of the ravine. It belongs to the same destroyed floating fortress from earlier. The machine scans the area for signs of biological life forms. System alert, hostile recon unit detected in the immediate path. I draw my heavy tungsten blade with absolute total silent motion. The metal scout turns its glowing red optical sensor toward me. It detects the faint thermal signature of my heavy combat armor. The machine raises a twin plasma rifle to engage the target. I cannot use the Zen Balance skill to absorb this deadly attack. I must rely on my own physical speed and tactical combat logic. System alert, combat overdrive protocol activated for 10 seconds. I push off the stone wall with massive explosive kinetic energy. A superheated plasma bolt scorches the space I just occupied. The extreme heat melts the solid rock into glowing liquid magma. I slide under the second incoming deadly bright energy projectile. My heavy blade strikes the mechanical joints of the scout unit. Sparks shower the canyon floor as the steel armor breaks apart. System alert. Enemy primary weapon system successfully disabled. I drive the tungsten tip directly into the central power core. The red optical light flickers rapidly and fades into darkness. The heavy machine collapses onto the rocks with a loud crash. I pull my blade free and wipe the synthetic oil from the edge. System alert, threat neutralized with optimal energy consumption. I look down at the destroyed metal debris scattered at my feet. My victory required maximum physical exertion and precise timing. The tiny panda destroyed a whole fortress with a single soft tap. The vast difference in our power levels is completely staggering. True absolute defense renders all offensive tactics totally void. System alert. Updating global combat database with new parameters. I sheathe my weapon and walk out of the dark, narrow stone canyon. The pale morning sun begins to rise over the distant high peaks. A new day brings fresh, deadly challenges to this ruined continent. I will never forget the terrifying lesson of the small beast. I must flow with the kinetic energy of this brutal, ruined world. System alert. Final destination coordinates locked and confirmed. I march forward into the bright, unknown future with a clear mind. The bright morning sun heats my heavy, cold titanium armor. I march forward across the barren, dusty wasteland surface. My internal thermal regulators activate with a quiet hum. The dry wind blows fine yellow sand across my clear visor. I calculate the exact distance to the next safe supply zone. System alert, optimal travel route calculated and confirmed. Heavy metal boots crush the brittle, ancient animal bones. I keep my optical sensors focused on the distant horizon. The memory of the black and white beast remains very clear. True absolute power requires absolutely zero physical effort. I adjust the heavy supply backpack on my tired, sore shoulders. A sudden deep vibration shakes the solid rocky ground below. I instantly lower my center of gravity to maintain balance. My tactical interface displays a massive seismic disturbance. System alert, extreme subterranean kinetic activity is detected. The massive tremor originates from the previous combat sector. I turn my head to observe the distant destroyed landscape. A huge cloud of gray dust rises into the clear morning sky. The Apex faction refuses to accept their total massive defeat. They deployed a heavy underground siege engine to this area. I activate my long-range optical zoom to gather fresh data. The solid Earth splits open with a deafening loud explosion. A colossal mechanical worm emerges from the deep, dark crater. Thick titanium armor plates cover the entire cylindrical body. Massive rotating drills spin rapidly at the front head section. System alert. Super heavy class excavation unit identified. This machine is designed to destroy entire fortified cities. It uses intense sonic vibrations to shatter solid hard rock. The beast pilot searches for the missing flying steel fortress. They only find a tiny sleeping panda on a small metal cube. The giant worm lowers its massive heavy head toward the ground. I measure the extreme thermal output of the main drive engines. The giant drills stop rotating and retract into the metal hull. A huge sonic resonance cannon extends from the front opening. The hostile pilots plan to vaporize the unknown small anomaly. System alert, lethal sonic frequency accumulation in progress. The surrounding air ripples with visible intense sound waves. Loose rocks shatter into fine powder from the pure resonance. I brace my armored body against a large, solid stone boulder. The intense sound waves reach my distant, hidden safe location. My audio dampeners instantly activate to prevent hearing loss. The tiny black and white animal remains completely fast asleep. It rests its soft, round head on the dense, compressed steel cube. The giant sonic cannon fires a concentrated beam of pure energy. A massive shockwave tears through the barren, dead wasteland. The invisible beam strikes the tiny sleeping creature directly. I prepare my optical sensors for a massive kinetic explosion. The destructive sonic energy hits the soft black and white fur. There is absolutely no violent explosion or flying debris cloud. The brutal sound waves simply vanish into the small, dense body. System alert. Total kinetic energy absorption protocol active. The thick fur ripples slightly like water in a quiet, small pond. The mechanical worm increases the raw power output to maximum. Millions of decibels pour into the tiny, silent biological form. The ground around the panda turns into smooth, liquid glass. The animal absorbs the catastrophic force without any effort. Its physical density multiplies by a factor of 10,000. A faint black and white aura materializes around the creature. Tiny glowing particles of pure yin and yang begin to float up. They orbit the sleeping animal in a perfect mathematical circle. System alert. Maximum energy capacity threshold is approaching. The giant mechanical worm finally ceases the heavy sonic attack. The massive cannon glows red-hot from the extreme energy output. The hostile pilots realize their weapon did absolutely nothing. The tiny panda slowly opens its dark eyes and stretches its paws. It sits up and looks directly at the massive metal siege engine. The creature lets out a quiet yawn and scratches its left ear. The absorbed sonic energy condenses into a single physical point. A small, glowing white orb forms right above the right soft paw. The white sphere vibrates with enough power to split the earth. The panda gently taps the glowing orb with its other small paw. The tiny sphere shoots forward with absolute terrifying velocity. It hits the thick titanium armor of the giant mechanical worm. The impact does not create any loud noise or massive bright fire. A silent ripple of pure kinetic force expands rapidly outward. The massive steel machine instantly shatters into fine gray dust. Millions of metal pieces scatter across the dry, dead wasteland. The hostile pilots are completely erased from physical existence. System alert. Hostile heavy siege unit completely neutralized now. A massive cloud of fine metal powder slowly settles on the dirt. The tiny black and white beast closes its dark round eyes again. It curls back into a small soft ball on top of the steel cube. The creature resumes its deep, peaceful sleep without hesitation. I process this impossible combat data with absolute cold shock. The Zen Balance skill ignores all known laws of modern physics. It converts supreme offensive power into a fatal counterattack. I lower my optical zoom lens and turn away from the dark crater. My tactical logic subroutines require a complete massive overhaul. System alert threat assessment parameters are successfully updated. I step away from the large stone boulder and resume my slow march. The heavy tungsten blade feels useless against such supreme power. I must avoid any direct combat with that supreme small animal. The bright sun climbs higher into the clear blue morning sky. My heavy combat boots leave deep tracks in the soft yellow sand. I check my internal energy reserves and find them dropping fast. Constant tactical processing drains my main core battery power. System alert power conservation mode activated for the next hour. I route all available energy to my basic optical and audio units. The dead continent stretches out endlessly before my tired eyes. Ruined concrete buildings pierce the dry earth like broken bones. I navigate through the dangerous debris with precise, slow steps. A sudden cold wind sweeps across the barren, desolate wasteland. Fine dust covers the dark gray metal plates of my tactical armor. I wipe the dirty visor with my thick, heavily armored right glove. The digital map displays a massive ruined city in the distance. System alert. High probability of hostile mutant life forms ahead. I draw my heavy kinetic pistol from the secure magnetic holster. The cold metal weapon provides a false sense of absolute security. No standard gun can protect me from the true horrors of this land. The tiny panda proved that raw physical force is a total illusion. True mastery lies in the perfect absorption of all hostile energy. I walk past the rusted remains of an ancient heavy battle tank. Deep claw marks cover the thick, hardened steel armor plating. Some massive wild beast destroyed this heavy vehicle long ago. I scan the dark shadows of the broken buildings for any movement. System alert motion sensors detect zero biological threats ahead. I lower my weapon slightly but keep my right index finger ready. The silence of the dead city feels incredibly heavy and dark. I find a relatively intact concrete room on the first floor. Thick wooden boards block the broken glass windows from the wind. I push open the heavy wooden door with my armored left shoulder. The dark interior smells of ancient dust and dry, decaying matter. I activate my low-light visual mode to inspect the empty corners. System alert. Temporary safe zone successfully secured and locked. I sit down heavily on a broken wooden chair in the dark corner. My tired leg muscles relax after the extremely long, brutal march. I place the heavy kinetic pistol on the dusty round wooden table. The memory of the sonic weapon replays endlessly in my tired mind. That tiny furry creature holds the ultimate secret to survival. I must study its perfect defense to upgrade my own combat skills. System alert. Initiating deep analysis of the kinetic absorption. The digital video plays directly inside my advanced optical visor. I watch the yin and yang particles swirl around the tiny body. Perfect balance is the only true way to conquer this dead planet. I close my tired eyes and enter a deep meditative recharge state. System alert core battery charging process initiated and running. The dark room provides excellent cover from the harsh, cruel world. I must repair the minor damage to my left leg armor plating. The sonic wave caused tiny fractures in the thick, heavy metal. I extract a small welding laser from my tactical utility belt. The bright blue beam melts the broken steel back into solid shape. System alert structural integrity of the combat armor is restored. I deactivate the small laser and return it to the secure pouch. My biological functions slow down to conserve precious energy. The digital clock inside my visor displays exactly noon right now. I will remain hidden in this ruined concrete building until night. The darkness offers a massive tactical advantage for safe travel. I review the global threat map for any new incoming enemy signals. The sector containing the Panda is now marked with a red skull. Nobody will ever survive an encounter with that supreme anomaly. I am the only living witness to the true power of Zen Balance. System alert, entering deep sleep mode to finish the repair cycle. System alert. Deep sleep mode successfully terminated right now. My internal optical sensors adjust to the absolute pitch dark. The cold concrete floor drains heat from my heavy metal boots. I slowly stand up and check my heavy tactical combat equipment. My core battery shows a fully restored optimal energy capacity. The dead, ruined city remains completely silent in the cold night. I push the heavy wooden door open with my armored left shoulder. A freezing wind blows dry yellow dust into my clean, clear visor. I step out into the empty, broken street of the dead, silent town. System alert night vision combat protocol is fully activated now. I navigate through the massive piles of rusted, heavy scrap metal. My heavy footsteps make zero sound on the soft, loose desert sand. The pale moonlight illuminates the distant, jagged, high mountains. A sudden, deep vibration shakes the solid, rocky ground below me. I instantly lower my center of gravity to maintain pure balance. My tactical interface displays a massive biological heat source. It approaches the exact location of the sleeping small beast fast. System alert: supreme threat level biological entity detected here. The Apex faction deployed their ultimate genetic dark experiment. I climb a tall, ruined skyscraper to gain a clear vantage point. My mechanical fingers grip the crumbling concrete window frame. I pull my heavy armored body up to the highest broken empty floor. The elevated position provides a perfect view of the wasteland. I activate my maximum optical zoom to observe the distant zone. A colossal mutated giant marches across the barren, dry, flat earth. Thick gray muscles bulge under its extremely dense, heavy skin. The monster carries a massive, heavy hammer forged from dark steel. Each heavy footstep creates a localized, minor, deep seismic tremor. I calculate the raw physical weight of this towering nightmare. System alert. Hostile entity mass exceeds all known safety limits. The beast was grown in a dark laboratory to destroy entire cities. Glowing green liquid pumps through thick, transparent dorsal tubes. It breathes heavily with a loud, wet, rasping, mechanical, deep sound. The giant stops exactly 10 meters away from the small steel cube. The tiny black and white panda still sleeps on the metal block. It looks like a small, soft toy compared to the towering monster. The giant raises the colossal dark steel hammer high into the air. Thick veins throb on the massive gray arms of the brutal creature. I prepare to witness the total destruction of the entire area. System alert: extreme kinetic impact trajectory calculated now. The colossal heavy hammer descends with absolute terrifying speed. The massive weapon breaks the sound barrier during the fast fall. A violent shockwave of compressed air rips the dry ground apart. The flat steel face of the hammer strikes the tiny sleeping beast. I brace my heavy armor against the crumbling concrete wall nearby. The brutal impact generates a flash of pure kinetic force. A loud roar of shattered earth echoes across the empty plains. System alert. Maximum physical damage threshold heavily breached. Thick gray dust completely obscures the violent impact zone. The giant leans heavily on the long handle of the massive weapon. It expects to find a crushed, bloody paste under the heavy steel. I adjust my thermal filters to pierce the thick dust cloud. The tiny thermal signature of the panda remains completely intact. The massive dark hammer rests directly on the soft, round head. The animal did not move a single millimeter from the strike. It simply absorbed the catastrophic energy into its own body. System alert: impact nullification protocol is fully active now. The physical density of the small creature increases rapidly. The dark and white fur turns into a pure, indestructible shield. The giant attempts to lift the heavy weapon off the small target. The colossal hammer is completely stuck to the tiny soft head. The stored kinetic energy creates a localized gravity anchor. System alert: hostile weapon is locked by supreme magnetic force. The giant pulls with all its massive raw biological strength. Thick steel cracks under the extreme physical stress of the pull. The monster digs its huge, heavy feet deep into the shattered earth. Green fluid pumps faster through the thick tubes on its back. It roars with absolute pure rage at the unmoving tiny obstacle. The tiny panda opens its dark eyes and lets out a soft yawn. It looks at the towering gray monster with absolute calm boredom. The creature does not show any signs of pain or real discomfort. It merely raises its right front paw with a slow fluid motion. System alert. Critical energy release sequence detected right now. Glowing particles of pure yin and yang materialize in the air. They swirl around the dense small body in a perfect calm circle. A deep humming sound vibrates through the cracked wasteland. The panda gently taps the flat steel face of the massive hammer. A silent wave of pure kinetic force travels up the long handle. The giant feels the redirected energy enter its massive gray arms. System alert. Catastrophic physical displacement is now imminent. The towering monster is instantly lifted off the solid ground. There is absolutely no loud explosion or bright flash of heat. The colossal beast simply launches backward with terrifying speed. The raw power of its own brutal strike sends it flying upward. I track the massive flying projectile with my optical sensors. The giant breaks the sound barrier 3 times in a single second. A trail of white condensed air follows the screaming monster. System alert. Hostile target has completely exited the local map. The huge monster flies across the entire ruined dead continent. It vanishes over the distant horizon like a fast shooting star. I calculate the final landing zone based on the launch velocity. The creature will crash into the cold ocean on the other side. System alert, global threat eliminated without any direct attack. The heavy dark steel hammer falls to the ground with a loud thud. The impact of the dropped weapon creates a minor dust crater. The tiny panda looks at the massive dropped weapon with mild care. It climbs onto the flat steel face of the heavy tool and sits. The beast uses the ultimate weapon of destruction as a new bed. It closes its dark eyes and immediately returns to a deep sleep. I process the terrifying reality of this absolute perfect defense. The Zen Balance skill turns supreme violence into total nonsense. System alert, tactical logic subroutines require a fast reboot. I lower my optical zoom lens and step back from the broken window. My heavy combat armor feels completely useless against such power. The thick titanium plates cannot absorb a fraction of that force. I must constantly adapt my global survival strategies right now. The Apex faction will never understand the true nature of force. They rely on massive genetic monsters and heavy steel fortresses. They believe that raw aggression will conquer this ruined planet. System alert, updating global combat database with fresh new data. I turn around and walk down the dark stairs of the ruined tower. The cold night wind whistles through the empty, broken, dark shafts. I reach the ground floor and step back out into the dusty street. My internal navigation system calculates a safe path to the east. System alert. New destination coordinates are locked and verified. I maintain a steady marching pace to conserve my limited battery. The memory of the flying giant replays endlessly in my cold mind. I realize that true strength does not require aggressive action. The small panda conquered the entire continent by doing nothing. System alert. Psychological stress levels are returning to normal. The eastern horizon begins to glow with a faint pale light. I march past the rusted remains of an ancient military convoy. Thick metal armor plates are torn apart like thin, fragile paper. Whatever destroyed these tanks relied on massive brute force. The Panda would simply absorb such attacks without any real care. System alert. Historical combat analysis module is running fine. I adjust the heavy supply backpack on my tired, sore shoulders. The dry yellow sand crunches loudly under my heavy combat boots. A small mutated lizard scurries across the broken concrete road. It hides under a large flat stone to escape the rising hot sun. I measure the rising ambient temperature of the dead desert. System alert. Thermal regulation systems are operating at peak. The Apex faction will surely investigate the loss of their beast. They will find nothing but a single heavy hammer in the dirt. The tiny animal will probably be sleeping somewhere else by then. I must avoid all future contact with that supreme anomaly. My primary mission is to gather data and survive this wasteland. System alert. Primary directive remains unchanged and fully active. I check my heavy tungsten blade secured tightly in the sheath. The sharp metal edge feels completely primitive compared to Zen. I will only use it against standard biological and machine foes. The bright sun finally clears the peaks of the dark mountains. The heat of the morning sun warms my cold, heavy metal armor. I adjust my internal cooling fans to maintain an optimal state. A flock of mutated black birds flies over the ruined dead city. They search for any fresh organic scraps in the barren wasteland. I will not become another dead victim of this brutal, cruel land. I walk forward into the blinding light with a clear, cold mind. System alert. Final sector scan completed without any new threats. The endless, dusty road stretches out toward the distant horizon. I am ready to face the next brutal challenge of this dead world. The brutal heat waves distort the clarity of the distant horizon. I march steadily across the shattered remains of the old highway. My metal boots crush the dry, twisted roots of dead ancient trees. System alert, minor seismic tremors detected in the deep underground. The Apex faction refuses to accept their absolute total defeat. They lost a mechanical worm and a supreme genetic mutant monster. Now they prepare to unleash their ultimate orbital kinetic weapon. I intercept a massive burst of encrypted data from the upper orbit. My internal tactical processor decodes the hostile transmission. System alert targeting laser locked onto the previous local sector. A bright red beam of pure light pierces the clear blue sky above. The hidden space station aims directly at the tiny sleeping Panda. I activate my extreme optical zoom to observe the distant target. The small black and white creature still rests on the heavy hammer. It breathes slowly with absolute perfect calm in the face of doom. System alert. Catastrophic orbital kinetic drop sequence initiated. A colossal solid tungsten rod falls from the cold vacuum of space. The massive metal cylinder weighs exactly 10 million solid tons. It drops toward the dead planet with absolute terrifying velocity. Extreme atmospheric friction ignites the thick shell of the weapon. A long, bright trail of white-hot fire follows the falling pillar. I brace my heavy armored body against a large solid concrete wall. The sheer downward pressure creates a massive loud sonic boom. System alert extreme shockwave impact is approaching this location. A thick cloud of dry yellow dust lifts off the shattered ground. I plant my heavy metal boots deep into the solid rocky dry earth. The heavy tungsten rod strikes the exact center of the target zone. The brutal kinetic impact should vaporize the entire local area. I prepare my advanced optical sensors for a massive flash of heat. The massive metal pillar hits the tiny soft black and white head. There is absolutely no massive explosion or bright flying debris. The terrifying kinetic energy simply vanishes into the small beast. System Alert Supreme Impact Nullification Protocol is fully active. The massive falling pillar of solid tungsten comes to a dead halt. The sleeping animal absorbs the entire cosmic force without effort. Its physical density multiplies beyond all known math logic. The ground beneath the heavy steel hammer remains perfectly intact. The weight of the absorbed energy creates a dark gravity well. Small, loose rocks begin to float upward into the clear morning sky. System alert. Localized gravitational distortion detected right here. The tiny panda opens its dark round eyes and looks straight upward. The heavy tungsten rod presses directly against its soft, flat nose. The creature slowly scratches its left ear with absolute boredom. It raises its right front paw toward the massive dark metal pillar. Glowing yin and yang particles materialize in the dry, empty air. System alert. Maximum energy capacity threshold is totally breached. Black and white particles orbit the small paw in a perfect circle. The tiny beast gently taps the bottom of the solid metal cylinder. A silent, invisible wave of pure kinetic force travels up the rod. The huge metal pillar instantly reverses its downward trajectory. The absorbed energy launches the heavy weapon back into deep space. System alert. Catastrophic vertical displacement is fully confirmed. The heavy rod breaks the sound barrier 10 times in a split second. It tears a massive hole through the thin white clouds right above. I track the ascending projectile with my advanced optical sensors. The massive metal pillar exits the planetary atmosphere completely. It strikes the hidden orbital military station with absolute force. A silent, bright flash of white light illuminates the high blue sky. System alert. Hostile orbital command center is totally annihilated. The Apex faction lost their best weapon in a single brief moment. The tiny panda lowers its right paw and closes its dark eyes again. It curls into a small round ball on the heavy dark steel hammer. The animal instantly returns to a deep, peaceful resting state. My internal processors freeze from the impossible absolute shock. The Zen Balance skill turns supreme violence into a simple joke. System alert. Tactical logic subroutines require a fast reboot now. I lower my optical zoom lens and step away from the ruined wall. My heavy armor feels completely useless against such supreme power. Thick titanium plates cannot absorb a tiny fraction of that force. I must constantly adapt my survival strategies in this dead world. The Apex faction will never understand the true nature of force. They rely on massive kinetic weapons and heavy orbital stations. They believe that raw, aggressive power will conquer this planet. System alert. Updating global combat database with fresh new data. I turn around and continue my steady march down the empty road. The hot morning wind whistles through the broken metal structures. My internal navigation system calculates a safe path to the east. System alert. New destination coordinates are locked and verified. I maintain a steady marching pace to conserve my limited battery. The memory of the flying tungsten rod replays endlessly in my mind. I realize that true absolute strength requires zero aggression. The small Panda defeated the orbital fleet by doing nothing at all. System alert. Psychological stress levels are returning to normal. The eastern horizon begins to shimmer with intense summer heat. I march past the rusted, destroyed remains of an ancient bunker. Thick concrete walls are torn apart like thin, fragile white paper. Whatever destroyed this bunker relied on massive, pure brute force. The sleeping beast would simply absorb such attacks without care. System alert. Historical combat analysis module is running fine now. I adjust the heavy supply backpack on my extremely tired shoulders. The dry yellow sand crunches loudly under my heavy combat boots. A small mutated scorpion scurries across the broken concrete road. It hides under a large flat stone to escape the brutal hot sun. I measure the rising ambient temperature of the dead, silent desert. System alert. Thermal regulation systems are operating perfectly. The Apex faction will surely investigate the loss of their station. They will find nothing but empty space in the high planetary orbit. The tiny animal will probably be sleeping somewhere else by then. I must avoid all future direct contact with that supreme anomaly. My primary mission is to gather fresh data and survive this desert. System alert. Primary directive remains unchanged and fully active. I check my heavy tungsten blade secured tightly in the dark sheath. The sharp metal edge feels primitive compared to pure Zen Balance. I will only use it against standard biological and machine enemies. The bright sun finally clears the tall peaks of the dark mountains. The extreme heat of the morning sun warms my cold metal armor. I adjust my internal cooling fans to maintain an optimal state. A flock of mutated black birds flies over the ruined desert city. They search for any fresh organic scraps in the barren wasteland. I will not become another dead, rotting victim of this brutal land. I drink a small portion of recycled water from my tactical flask. The warm liquid tastes slightly of rust and pure chemical filters. System alert hydration levels are restored to normal parameters. I wipe away a thin layer of yellow dust from my clear optic visor. The tall mountains offer a natural barrier against the harsh wind. I will establish my next base camp inside those deep, dark caves. The Apex faction cannot easily scan deep underground structures. I must analyze the kinetic data to upgrade my own weak defenses. System alert. Deep learning algorithm initiated for tactical combat. The sleeping Panda remains the absolute master of this dead world. I step over a rusted metal beam and continue my silent journey. Survival means knowing when to walk away from absolute pure power.
This video and everything in it are completely fictional and original creations by Backfire. The story is made only for storytelling and entertainment inside the fictional universe. It isn't meant to encourage violence, dangerous actions, or harmful behavior, and nothing in this video should be copied in real life. All characters shown in this work are fictional and are presented as 18 years old or older. This content is made only for entertainment and isn't intended to offend, attack, or harm any person, group, or organization. This channel is more than just entertainment. It's made to share deep ideas, powerful meanings, and valuable insights through stories that make you think and feel in a new way.